Today, we pit a superhero who's actually a kid against a kid who's actually dead. It's Shazam vs. Pet Sematary in the movie's verdict. And on the TV side, we've got a new challenger going up against a defending champ, Warrior vs. Killing Eve. Plus, we'll get you brushed up on your DC history with our debut of the DCEU timeline in chronological order. Call your mom, whose name is probably Martha, and tell her it's time for What to Watch.
And welcome back to What to Watch. I'm Jackie Jing.
I'm Clint Gage, and we are joined as always by our editorial guru, and you better believe we're going to call you that every week. It's David Griffin, everybody.
I'll tell you one thing, this guy's not happy that I'm here.
Why?
Not happy at all.
Why?
He just doesn't like gurus.
He doesn't like gurus. He doesn't like
Gurus
anybody.
famously have no place in Game of Thrones.
Unless you're a White Walker.
Yeah,
and I'm not
true.
one of those, so yeah.
You are not a White Walker.
No.
Also, I want to give some love to back in the booth, our full-time tech wizard, Nick Lamone, and our producer / part-time warlock, I think you put that in there, Tom Jorgensen. And even though Tom's not on mic today, thank God. No, just kidding. We love you, Tom. But you are about to be subjected to his warbling screeches as he narrates something very cool that we're premiering here on What to Watch.
That's right, with Shazam out this weekend, we're getting you up to speed on DC movies history. And no, we're not talking about Halle Berry's Catwoman.
Absolutely.
Did anybody
No.
think we were?
No.
Yes. I was worried.
Nick, you
Nick,
did? Okay.
Sorry, Nick, not happening. It's the DCEU in chronological order, though. It's timeline time. Roll the footage.
Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy wrapped up right around the same time another universe of costumed heroes who shall remain nameless was kicking into high gear. Understandably, fans of the DC universe wanted to know when their favorite heroes would get a chance to play together. Turns out, it didn't take long. Warner Brothers assembled their own cinematic universe at Speed Force-fueled pace, setting the table for never-before-seen combinations of Caped Crusaders and Steel Men and more Steel Men, but theirs is a tale that spans thousands of years. So with new kid on the block Shazam shazamming into theaters soon, let's get this story straight and put the events of the DCEU into chronological order. Dating back to when the world was new, in a mythological sense, Zeus and the gods of ancient Greece created mankind and the Amazons, who went on to fight alongside the tribes of men and the kingdom of Atlantis when the world was invaded by intergalactic military jerk Steppenwolf and his parademons, who hoped to terraform the newly created planet in their own image. They were successful in driving Steppenwolf and his forces away and claimed the 3 Mother Boxes, a sort of perpetual energy system that would power the terraforming when combined into the Unity. The Atlanteans took one, the Amazons another, the third was hidden by the tribes of men, 3 for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords. Wait, wrong movie, sorry. During the era of expansion, the technologically advanced planet Krypton sends voyagers out seeking new worlds to settle, building outposts and terraforming planets. But this expansion took a toll on the planet, draining natural resources and slowly destabilizing the planet's core. Things begin to fall apart pretty rapidly after Steppenwolf's botched Unity party. The Kingdom of Atlantis collapsed under the weight of their own rapid expansion, a trend that we'll see continue, and split into 7 smaller kingdoms. Around the same time, Ares, the god of war, went to battle with the other gods, murdering them all, corrupting the hearts of men, and forcing the Amazons into hiding on the island of Themyscira. In 1918, the final year of World War I, American spy Steve Trevor crash lands in the waters outside of Themyscira, officially becoming the first outsider and first man to discover the island since it was hidden, though he doesn't hold that record for very long. The skilled warrior and Princess Diana save Steve from the wreckage, but German soldiers on his tail breach the island's defenses. Man's world has officially discovered the Amazons, and vice versa. Convinced that the Great War is the doing of Ares, Diana leaves Themyscira along with Steve to finish the god of war once and for all. In the process, they liberate Veld, a city in German-occupied Belgium, and have their photo taken, something that definitely doesn't come back to haunt Diana in the future. Just kidding, it totally does. Anyway, Diana, Steve, and their band of sidekicks eventually defeat Ares, who had been hiding in the form of Professor Lupin this whole time, but in the process, Steve is forced to sacrifice himself. Diana, disillusioned with the world of men, decides to live out her immortal life in secret, working at the Louvre. Let's check in on Krypton's dying core.
This is the end.
Not doing great. In 1980, Kryptonian general and zealot Zod tries to stage a coup on his dying homeworld. In the chaos, scientist Jor-El plots to save his son Kal-El by sending him off-planet along with the Codex, a skull of some sort that apparently is the key to Krypton's future. But don't worry, it doesn't really come up again. Zod kills Jor-El moments after his son Kal is launched off the planet, but his uprising ultimately fails. He and his co-conspirators are sentenced to 300 cycles of reconditioning in the Phantom Zone. But Krypton explodes before we ever get to learn just how long 300 cycles is. Kal's craft lands safely in Smallville, Kansas, where he's found by the kind-hearted Jonathan and Martha Kent. They name him Clark, because Kal's name tag flew off on his ship somewhere around Jupiter. The next year, the Wayne family, Gotham City royalty, are accosted by an armed robber outside a movie theater. Thomas and Martha are shot and killed, orphaning Bruce. During his parents' funeral, Bruce accidentally discovers a bat-filled cave outside the cemetery and, well, come on, you know how this story goes. In 1985, lighthouse keeper Thomas Curry rescues Atlanta, the runaway queen of Atlantis, from the beach during a storm, marking the first contact between an Atlantean and a surface dweller for thousands of years. The next year, Arthur Curry is born, proof that Atlanteans and humans can coexist. The late 80s and early 90s are an important formative time for both Arthur and Clark. Atlanta is forced to abandon her husband and son after Atlantean soldiers track her down. Meanwhile, back in Kansas, young Clark Kent begins discovering his powers. Pa Kent tells him he's an alien, which is about the worst and best adoption reveal ever. Later, Arthur also begins discovering his powers, which almost destroy the New England Aquarium and ruin countless field trips. In 1997, Jonathan Kent dies in a tornado, saving a dog. What a guy. Clark learns a valuable, if needlessly traumatic, lesson about being a hero and using his powers. Roughly around this time, young Arthur begins training in secret with Volko, his Atlantean mentor. It's 2013, and Clark is living a transient life, working on a fishing boat. Wonder if he ever ran into Aquaman. They receive a distress call from an oil rig going up in flames. Clark boards the rig, and he and his rippling abs keep it from falling down for just long enough for the helicopter full of crew members to escape. And then he f***ing dies. Just kidding, that's not for another couple of years. Later, Clark discovers a Kryptonian ship in the ice, placing the key his father sent him to Earth with in a computer. Clark meets an AI recreation of Jor-El who tells him about the fall of Krypton and gifts him his suit. Of course, this is just in time for General Zod to arrive. He broadcasts a message to the Earth. Kal-El must turn himself in within 24 hours or the planet will suffer. And of course, Clark does turn himself in. He and Lois are taken aboard Zod's ship, where he reveals that he plans on terraforming Earth and turning it into the new Krypton. Clark and Lois escape to Smallville, and Zod and his compatriots retaliate by devastating the town, but Superman fends them off by making Zod breathe our gross air. Eventually, Clark and Zod's fight spills into Metropolis and absolutely demolishes the place. Not that great in terms of a public debut for Superman. While the two Kryptonians rack up an impressive amount of property and collateral damage in the air, Bruce Wayne frantically tries to clear civilians out of Wayne Tower. It doesn't go very well, and Bruce is left with even more guilt on his conscience and a simmering hatred for Superman. And boy, is it gonna boil over. 18 months after the Metropolis catastrophe, the world has largely adjusted to the existence of Superman. He even has a cool statue in the middle of the city. But not everyone is as enamored with the existence of superpowered aliens as the general public. Lex Luthor, billionaire inventor, heir to his father's company LexCorp, and less crazy Mark Zuckerberg secretly begins researching ways to defend, heavy on the air quotes there, Earth from Kryptonian invasion. Lex begins secretly amassing kryptonite left on Earth after Zod's attack while developing a scheme to prove to the world once and for all that superhumans are dangerous, while a world-weary Bruce Wayne investigates both Lex and Superman. He is still not over the whole Metropolis thing. Lex has also been collecting data on other rumored metahumans, which Bruce steals and uses to track down the mysterious Diana Prince. Remember that old photo from Belgium back in 1918? Surprise, it's back. Anyway, Lex concocts a plan to make Batman and Superman fight to the death while the world watches. That involves him kidnapping both Lois Lane and Martha Kent, because apparently Lex Luthor is a better detective than Batman and figured out Superman's secret identity like it was no big deal. But Lex's plan fails after Bruce and Clark realize mid-deathmatch that their moms had the same names.
You're letting him kill Martha!
You know, how fights always end. The tender bonding moment is interrupted by Lex's backup plan. Using the corpse of General Zod, the wreckage of a Kryptonian ship, and his own blood, Lex has created Doomsday, a monster capable of absorbing energy and destroying just about everything. With their Martha-based friendship solidified, Clark and Bruce fight Doomsday side by side with the help of a trump card, Wonder Woman, who has finally come out of her self-imposed secret exile to clean up the boys' mess. Cue the riff! Tragically, the fight with Doomsday ends when Clark sacrifices himself to impale the monster on a kryptonite spear. Oh yeah, did we mention that Batman made a kryptonite spear? He was totally ready to murder Superman. Like, for real, he even practiced. So Doomsday dies, Superman dies, and the whole world sees that Lex Luthor is insane and heroes are good. But now, Batman and Wonder Woman are left to pick up the pieces and prepare for what comes next. And it's gonna be a nightmare. The next year, government operative Amanda Waller begins recruiting some kind of suicide squad. But seeing as that bad boy's getting a total reboot from James Gunn and will likely no longer be canon, let's just keep our eyes forward. In 2017, the world begins being quietly invaded by parademons, bug-like alien soldiers who feed on fear, under the leadership of Steppenwolf. Remember that guy from ancient times? Yeah, well, apparently he's just been waiting in the wings for the optimal time to strike, and what better moment than roughly a year after Superman bit the dust. So Steppenwolf's back, and he wants to complete the unity between the 3 mother boxes from way back when, which will terraform the Earth. Why do so many people want to terraform Earth? Diana and Bruce begin assembling a team to fight Steppenwolf based on the research Bruce stole from Lex Luthor, made up of Barry Allen, a plucky speedster, Victor Stone, a human-turned-cyborg by alien tech, and everyone's favorite fish talker, Arthur Curry, to join forces to stop the invasion. But of course, they need more firepower. Using one of the mother boxes, they resurrect Superman. And it does not go super well at first. It's a real
Pet Sematary
situation. Barry's words, not ours. But a brief date with Lois helps Clark return to himself. Together, the newly formed Justice League stops Steppenwolf and leaves a tiny town in rural Russia full of some pretty neat looking alien flora. Better than a giant city full of death and destruction, right, Soups? About a year after the formation of the League, Arthur Curry still isn't all that into the whole superhero thing. In stopping a pirate attack on a Russian sub, oh, that is such a good sentence, he brutally provides the supervillain origin story for his future nemesis, Black Manta. Meanwhile, trouble is a-brewing in Atlantis proper. Arthur's half-brother, King Orm, is planning on starting a war with the surface world because we are polluting the hell out of his waters. But his methods are a little extreme, so his betrothed, Mira, goes looking to Arthur for help. It takes some convincing, but Arthur eventually returns to Atlantis to try and stop Orm. But it doesn't really go his way, and he and Mira are sent off on an epic quest to find the lost trident of King Atlan to try and stop Orm from destroying land and sea. In the process, they find Queen Atlanta, who has been lost in the hidden sea at the bottom of a magic portal in the Marianas Trench full of dinosaurs. Again, Aquaman is full of good sentences to describe it. Luckily, that's where the Trident is too, and a giant kraken voiced by Julie Andrews. Yes, really.
You dishonor this place.
With Trident in hand, Arthur defeats Orm. That, coupled with Atlanta's return to Atlantis, we've got ourselves a brand new king. And that brings us right up to speed in the DCEU, just in time for Shazam to continue the story. Will Billy Batson level a city? Rescue a hunky World War I pilot? Have a Martha-fueled emotional breakthrough? We'll find out soon enough.
All right, so where does Shazam fit in with the rest of the DCEU? Obviously, it's at the end.
Well, it's tough to tell because it seems like DC is going in this place where they're just going to tell these kind of small, self-contained stories, which I'm fine with. I mean, if DC just came out and announced, like, you know what, folks, we got all these comics, you know, we have Long Halloween, all these classic books. We're just going to tell all these different stories and just keep them separate and be their own thing. That's cool. You don't have to have an expanded universe to be good.
At the beginning, they were trying to emulate what Marvel did a little bit too much. And I love how just some of the directors were like, screw it. We're going to have our own voice. We're going to do our own thing. And I really think that you've seen that with Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and now Shazam.
It was such a sprint to get to the Justice League, right? They had to catch up to Marvel because by the time they got around to that, like Marvel was already teaming up the Avengers. They were already assembling over there in the MCU. And so to see them kind of take a step back and do these not connected story, like these solo kind of stories, then they could actually really earn a team up later, which would be, you know, better for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
It's time for the movie's verdict. We're taking this weekend's big releases and making the tough choice. If you could only see one, which one are you picking? Today is a doozy because we got Shazam and Pet Sematary. Ooh. So let's start with Shazam, which IGN gave an 8.8. Shazam is a lot of fun and further proves how, in the wake of the success of Wonder Woman and Aquaman, DC's movie future is indeed bright. Zachary Levi was born to play this superpowered man-child, delivering lots of laughs alongside sarcastic but amiable co-star Jack Dylan Grazer. After an awkward and obligatory opening, the rest of the movie packs some big surprises for comics buffs and offers enough mainstream appeal to win over new fans. 8.8. That's great.
Yeah.
Officially, that is great. That is in our great segment of rankings, right?
Yeah, totally. Such a bummer because you guys haven't seen it yet.
We had a tough decision to make.
Yeah. So
Then
they
I
got
had a
to
choice
see-
between seeing
yes.
one movie and another movie, and we picked a different movie.
We're
Jackie,
going divide and conquer this.
You got to see
for
it.
sure.
I did get to see Shazam, and I thought that it was hysterical. Zachary Levi is phenomenal in it. Like, he literally embodies the role of Shazam so well. Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddie Freeman is also amazing. You know, like with kid actors, you kind of never know. At least I kind of feel that way, but he knocked it out of the park. Like, he was super funny. He had great chemistry with Zachary Levi. I'm a big fan of Mark Strong. There's some other people in the office who thought he wasn't a great villain, but
Well, Mark Strong is like default comic book villain. I feel
know,
like,
right?
Like he's between
$100.
Green Lantern,
yeah.
and then he was a great villain in Sherlock Holmes, the first Sherlock Holmes. So like I just love seeing Mark Strong as a bad guy. Like I'll take it all day long.
Yeah.
I was at WonderCon this past weekend, and Clint didn't join me like I thought he was. But that's okay. I was waiting outside for a while, but
It was
it's
the
okay.
proposition.
Okay,
thing.
it's okay.
Like,
I did proposition you, but it wasn't anything weird.
Sure.
No scandal.
You made it weird though.
I
That's
made it
why
weird. I
didn't
made it a
show
little
up.
weird. But anyway, I was at the Warner Brothers panel, and Mark Strong and the rest of the cast of Shazam came out, and Mark Strong said, "Look, I didn't get to go all the way with Sinestro, to actually, come into his full character and be that compelling villain. But he says he really feels like he got his money's worth with Shazam. He's really proud of his character. And even though I haven't seen it yet, they did show a couple clips. And what I saw looked great. Like you said, Jack, everything that you said, I saw in those clips. So I'm hoping the whole movie's going to be like that.
Yeah. Another great thing about Shazam is that it's dark. Like it's PG-13, but they did not hold back. I mean, obviously the director is David Sandberg, and he's worked on Animal Creation and Lights Out, and has a history with horror, you could say. And there was jump scares in there, and I kind of love that it was like, hey, we're gonna be dark here. We're not gonna be like all jokes and just fun. Like it was heavy.
And it's such a smart way to go about it too, because it's about a superhero. It's about a kid growing up immediately. It's about a kid dealing with grown-up stuff. So like, go ahead and make it a little darker than you would a normal kids movie, and like, tonally and thematically, it all works together.
Yeah.
I always just think of Tom Hanks in Big.
Sure.
And then superhero.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Perfect combination.
Yep.
Okay, we're taking a hard right turn out of the wildly optimistic and fun Shazam into the terrifying metaphysical and moral conundrums presented by Pet Sematary, which by our count is, I think, the 3,485th Stephen King adaptation announced in the wake of its success.
Something like that, yeah.
But here's the kicker. This one is actually real good. IGN gave it an 8.0.
Sometimes dead is better.
2019's Pet Sematary is a fun and frightening film, if your idea of fun is seeing characters go to hell and back. The movie milks its powerful premise of denying or outright cheating death for every gruesome bit that it's worth. While some purists may balk at the changes and omissions made here, those simply looking for a horror movie as compelling as it is wicked should enjoy this new Pet Sematary. So this is one that David and I have seen, and you have not.
I didn't get to see it, but I'm really excited about it. Like what I've seen from the trailer, John Lithgow's amazing, though. Fred Gwynn, man, he's got some big shoes to fill. Y'all, is it good? Did you think an 8.0 or?
It's good. It's real good. No, I mean, like, listen.
Okay, sell it some more, Clint. It's good.
I feel like asked and
real
answered.
good.
No,
Is it good?
it's very good. Like,
Okay.
and in the world of Stephen King adaptations, there was the era of like super cheeseball adaptations.
Yeah.
Like the adaptations that did not age well from the 80s.
Yeah.
And then with it being also good. And then now this one is also very good because I think that there's room in horror as a genre to be just a little bit self-aware without being a spoof, right? And so that was my favorite part of this movie, is that it knew what kind of movie it was, and it knew that we knew what kind of movie it was. So there was a little bit of a wink and a nod energy to it. Like there are scenes where Jason Clarke and John Lithgow are talking, and John Lithgow does something crazy, horror tropey, delivers a line like this.
Yeah.
And Jason Clarke's like, the hell was that? And so it's really...
And everybody laughed.
Yeah,
Everybody knew it. Everybody
it
laughed.
steps
yeah.
right up to that meta line without stepping over it in a really cool way. And it made the whole process much more fun because it deals with some gnarly stuff. Like the movie is
Yeah.
about like crazy gnarly stuff.
Yeah, it's about dealing with grief and loss. And the young girl, Jete Lawrence, I think is how you say her name. She is just incredible. You know, pretty much a newcomer. You know, has done a lot of big projects, but she, for lack of a better word, acts older than she is, and she's creepy when she needs to be. She's cute when she needs to be. Just everything. And there's some stuff with hair going on in there. And even though I'm never going to be on a Hair Club for Men commercial, even I was kind of grossed out by some of the hair stuff going on. You know, I can't even relate, but I was grossed out by it.
Yeah,
So,
I did. It was bath time for my daughter the night following me going to see it, and I was brushing her hair after the bath, and it was a nightmare. Jackie, hearing all that about Pet Sematary, which one are you going to see this weekend?
I mean, like my hype level right now, I'm definitely leaning towards Pet Sematary.
Okay.
It's you guys are making it sound really good. Right. So okay, that's my pick.
I think for me, after seeing the footage at WonderCon, the couple scenes that we saw, which I won't spoil here, but I'm hyped for Shazam now.
Yeah.
Even though I love Pet Sematary, and I do want to see it again.
Yeah.
Just because I think I would like to take some friends and experience that creep factor with them. I think I'm going with Shazam.
This may be just really exclusive to me personally, but I got 2 kids. I don't need all this baggage about dealing with grief when one of them gets hit by a truck. So I'm choosing life. I'm going Shazam this weekend.
Okay.
That's what we thought, but we wanted to know what you are more excited to see. So based on our Twitter poll, Shazam takes the lead with 69%,
Wow,
Pet
okay.
Sematary 31%.
That's a pretty stark difference there. But I mean, okay, like it's so hard for me to make a decision here because Shazam is really fun. Like it is really, really good.
And this is the first time we've seen Shazam live action on the big screen. So, I mean, this is a big deal. Whereas Stephen King adaptations, we've seen plenty of them. So I understand. I understand the hype. I get it.
You've got voices, and we want to hear them. So follow IGN on Twitter and tweet at us using the hashtag IGN W2W with my broken hand. Doesn't that look funny? Anyways, okay.
That's the biggest tragedy about your hand.
I know.
So you can't
Broken
do the
playing
gesture as
volleyball.
well.
Okay, but anyways, let's move on to the TV verdict. And in today's TV verdict, we are going to be talking about Cinemax's Warrior, a new martial arts-fueled drama based on the writings of Bruce Lee, and the BBC's Killing Eve, which is coming back for its 2nd season after Sandra Oh picked up a Golden Globe for her killer performance in the 1st season. Killer performance?
Nice.
I get it. Yeah.
Okay.
I get it. Yeah.
No reaction, though. Nothing. All right. Okay. Well, Warrior premieres Friday, April 5th. And Killing Eve comes back on Sunday, April 7th. So no reviews yet on either of these, but let's go on what we know. Starting with Cinemax's Warrior, which is a gritty, action-packed crime drama set during the brutal Tong Wars of San Francisco's Chinatown in the second half of the 19th century. The series follows Assam, a martial arts prodigy who emigrates from China to San Francisco under mysterious circumstances. After proving his worth as a fighter, Assam becomes a hatchet man for the Hope Way, one of Chinatown's most powerful tongs or Chinese organized crime families.
Or when you say
If
it
I
like
don't
that, it's
seem
very
enthusiastic
exciting.
about it, then I don't know. Like, okay, so I got to see a screening of this with Laura Prudhomme months ago. Like, I think it was just, we got lucky and we got into an early screening of it. What they told us at the screening was that Bruce Lee wanted to make this into a show. And he, like, approached some, like, show creators, like, you know, people who, like, make TV, all that good stuff. And that's the professional way of saying it. And he was basically like, this is my story, let's do this. And then they were straight up like, you're Asian American and like you can never be a lead in a TV show. And he basically was like, okay, and just walked away. I just think it's really cool that now the story is coming back to life. You know what I mean? And I mean, this has an incredible history. And I mean, straight up, it's just like, it reminds me of Game of Thrones a lot in tone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very heavy. They don't hold anything back. But on top of all of that, there is insane martial arts. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like very different from like the Crouching Tiger, like Hidden Dragon. Like, there is just this like realism to it. You know what I mean? And the lead of it is, I think a former stuntman, or he's still a stuntman. And so it's
He can
like,
fight, yeah.
he can fight. It's really, really cool. So I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I'll be quiet now. But yeah, it's awesome. I'm a big fan. So.
It's got that great pay cable DNA of like, here's all the violence, all the swearing, all the nudity, all the
sex,
TV, MA, you know, action. That
Get what you pay for. You're
that
paying
you
that
love.
Cinemax price.
Exactly.
You know, Cinemax
exactly.
has a,
You get every every sense of that in this show. So it's got that. It's in that tradition of of Game of Thrones. Even like it reminds me of The Sopranos. Some of the power dynamics that are happening, and it's in this setting that is super interesting and super unexplored. And it's got Bruce Lee's DNA in it too. So it's a really, really kind of perfect storm of awesome.
It feels a lot like Gangs of New York set in San Francisco with a martial arts theme. I mean, it's fantastic. I think the action is so well done. It's got one of the co-creators of Banshee, which is one of my favorite pulpy action series from Cinemax. Don't sleep on Cinemax. I know Cinemax, you think of the skin.
It's
you think of the stuff.
Like
it's their
younger brother that you kind of is like, Cinemax has to tag along in this cable package.
There's some really good shows. You have Strike Back is on there. You had The Nick, which was fantastic. The only reason why that didn't win a bunch of Emmys is because it was on Cinemax. And Banshee is a great action series, one of the best action series on TV. It's done now. And now you have this show. Yeah. So don't sleep on Cinemax. Cinemax has some good stuff over there.
Let's move along to Killing Eve. Another great show. So this show was a huge hit for the BBC last year, and it's back with a vengeance. Here's the season 2 synopsis, but beware some light spoilers for season 1 here. Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer reprise their critically acclaimed performances as Eve, an MI6 operative, and psychopath assassin Villanelle in the story of 2 women bound by a mutual obsession and one brutal act. Beginning just after the end of the final episode of season 1, Villanelle has disappeared, and Eve is left reeling. With both of them in deep trouble, Eve has to find Villanelle before someone else does. But unfortunately, she's not the only person looking for her. Dun, dun, dun.
Big dun, dun, dun.
Right?
On that
Intense. That was a great read, Jackie.
Thanks.
It was very good.
Thanks. I tried to read it with passion.
You did. That was passionate. This show is passionate. This show is excellent. It's a show run by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who has her own show called Fleabag. She's a very good writer. She's a good actress as well. She's in Solo. She was the robot in Solo. I'm blanking on the robot Solo's name, but she was the voice of that robot.
Oh my gosh, I'm blinking too.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
That's
It was Leap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It's this crazy, like, psychosexual thriller. These women have this interesting connection. Are they really into each other? Are they not? What's the attraction? Sandra Oh's character, who works for MI5?
Yes.
Or MI6, let's get those confused.
It ends up being MI6.
MI6, yeah.
Okay.
But
The extra secret one.
The extra secret one.
Yeah, that's
Whichever one's better.
She's obsessed with serial killers.
Yeah.
So she's obsessed with Villanelle, but then some things happen in season 1, and Sandra loses some of her friends, and she starts hating her, but then also being attracted to her, and it's crazy. It's hard to explain. It's this really weird story.
wild.
It rides a line of tone to where they can do something that is legitimately like crushing and dramatic and traumatic, and then in the very next scene we're laughing about it.
Yeah.
So it does this great balancing act of like it creates all this tension, and then it gives you the release for that tension as well, like in short order too, because it's not a full hour long per episode either. The episodes are like 37 minutes or something. They're kind of an awkward length, but it's just a really interesting show, like on every level. I love every character has 3 or 4 things going on at any given time. The plot kind of bounces back and forth in interesting ways. So like I'm stoked for season 2.
If you want to catch up on right now, it's on, at least in the States, it's on Hulu right now. So you can catch up with season 1, season 2 premiering this Sunday. But it's worth binging and catching up.
I feel like I know the answer, but which one are you recommending for this weekend streaming?
Warrior. Warrior just caters to me. I mean, it's just got like tons of action, and it's like Gangs of New York and Bruce Lee and just like awesomeness. So like Warrior is definitely up my alley, but Killing Eve is great too. So sorry.
It's
that
Killing
was a
Eve
long
for me.
answer.
It's Killing Eve for me,
Yeah.
and it's frankly not super close. I mean, Warrior's great.
Yeah.
Warrior is it does some really awesome things, but it's awesome things that I feel like I can get other places in a certain way. But Killing Eve is one of the most unique shows in recent memory.
No,
honestly.
Killing Eve's super unique. Yeah.
And it's just one of those shows that I'm just glad this show exists because it's just so different from anything that's out there.
I know I have to choose one, but what's perfect about this release schedule is you have one on Friday night. Friday night's when you want the popcorn, you want the action, maybe go out and get some nachos. That's what I'm doing on Friday night.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, maybe want something a little deeper. Not that Warrior's not deep, but something a little bit more. And I don't know, just something that makes you think a little more. And I think that's what Killing Eve. So I think you have that perfect weekend shows to watch. But if you have to pick one, I am going to go with Killing Eve.
Well, let's see what you all had to say on Twitter. And Warrior, 39%. Killing Eve, 61%.
That's kind of like our movie. That's almost like Shazam, Pet Sematary.
But
Yeah.
this is not as close as I would have expected, honestly. I would have expected it to be a little more of a toss-up.
Yeah.
I think
you
there's
know
still
what? There's a
of-
lot of hype around Killing Eve
Yeah.
that people are just talking about how great it is. So, I mean,
And like I said, there's a lot of shows that people aren't aware of on Cinemax that are really good. So I say recommend it, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
So this is what we call IGN Quick Picks. Here's how it works. We each get 30 seconds on a clock to sell you guys titles we personally think are worth a watch this weekend. Jackie, we're going to start with you this week.
No.
Let's put 30 seconds on a clock.
I was going to come up with my points while David was going
Nope,
first.
pressure, Jackie. It's your turn.
Oh, no. Okay, so
we
I have
go.
to look at the camera, right? This camera, that camera, this camera. Okay. Tom, tell me when you're ready. Okay, so The Promised Neverland, you can stream it on Crunchyroll, and it's insane. Okay, so I first started watching it, and I'm like, okay, this is an orphanage, and there's all these cute little kids, and everything looks super happy. And then things get super dark when we find out that those children, these adorable little kiddos, are being farmed to be eaten by demons. Demons. Eat them, these cute, adorable little kids. So they come up with this crazy escape plan, and what they do is insane. Okay, that was not bad.
So demons eat kids.
Demons eat
No, but
kids.
then they
is
ha- they
the-
try to
the
Nope,
big
demons eat
takeaway.
I
kids.
said
Got
the
it. 30
escape
seconds.
plan. There's a massive escape plan.
It's not a bad pitch. Demons eat kids.
Guys, I had this great new show for
Great
you.
new show.
Demons eat
I think
kids.
No,
it's
it's about
called
the
Demons
kids
Eat Kids. I
escaping
can't
the
remember.
demons. Okay, moving on.
David, what do you got?
So I'm talking about The Shy, which is returning on Sunday. It is a crime drama that is one of the best on TV. It's very reminiscent of The Wire. I don't know why I'm doing this with my thumbs, but I'm trying to be very political about this. So, like The Wire, instead of breaking the different parts of Chicago by seasons, like the newspapers and the kids and the police department, they do everything all at once. So you get the police department, the education system that the kids are going through. It's a very harrowing, traumatic story. It's a... I forgot. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Too much pressure.
You had
It's
me
too
at
much.
The Wire.
It's like The
Yeah,
Wire.
that was
Yeah.
pretty much.
If you like The Wire, watch it. Yeah.
You should have just said that.
I should have said that. Yeah, well,
Just
yeah,
stop
I'm
there.
learning. This is only the second show. We're
I
learning.
know. Much better than mine. Okay, Clint. Kill it right here.
I am recommending High Life. High Life is a movie that's coming out in theaters this weekend. It's got Robert Pattinson playing one of several death row inmates that's on some sort of deep space mission with his infant daughter and a scientist played by Juliette Binoche who may or may not be evil. It's got shades of Sunshine and Under the Skin. It's got Andre 3000. It's an A24 movie, and A24 as a production studio has an incredible batting average. Everything from Hereditary, Ex Machina, 8th Grade, Lady Bird, The Moonlight, all of it. It's an intimate human story told in a bonker space, and I love it.
He had notes.
He had notes.
He had notes.
No notes.
I'm not gonna
No
lie.
notes.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was like, he had notes. He had notes.
Can I just clarify
you
something? Were we
sold
not
it.
allowed to have notes?
Yeah.
I mean,
we
I
never
thought it was a
established
free
rules.
for all.
Yeah.
I guess we never.
Okay.
No
notes
notes
next time.
No
All right,
notes.
fine.
But you sold that. That sounds insanely awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, that's all for What to Watch this week, folks. If you want to talk about what you'll be checking out this weekend, then make sure you tweet us at #IGNW2W. And you can also find us on Twitter. I'm at Jackie Jang.
I'm at Clint Gage.
I'm at Griffin DE.
You can find me at Advent Nick.
We will see you next week, and as always, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN. Because there's B-roll that happens over the talk, over our quick picks. So why can't I be looking at notes?